Hey there, everyone. This is CPO, and this is Heli Hangout number 36. So I don't remember the date. I never do. It's December 5th, Friday, 2014, and we are going to just hang out and talk shop. We have some, well, in the United States, it's December 5th. You're not going to fool me again, Aid. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So, anyway, this is the 36 Hangout, and we're, I don't know if this is going to be the last one for the year or not. To be honest with you, I haven't looked at the calendar, but it's quite possible that
going again or no?
2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks from now, is going to be a little bit crazy with the holidays. So,
yeah. Oh, you did? Did I get it going again? Oh, yeah.
And let me mute. Alrighty. All right, so let's do a quick roll call. Looks like we have a couple of new visitors. But Adrian, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously a little bit tired. I have 2 cups of coffee in hand, just to make sure.
Nice.
And,
I've got one here, so I'll feel for you.
And no, it's been a busy kind of couple of weeks for me. Sorry I didn't make the last one. Just completely crapped out. And but I've been flying my little Align 500, which is quite cool. I'm quite surprised actually. It's from a line of old. They've come on a little bit since then, and the first impressions of the G Pro is that it kind of works. Which
really? Is that a shock?
Well, from the 3GX, you only have to sort of wander around the forums looking at the 3G and the 3GX sort of posts and people having issues and them falling over all the time and all sorts of reliability issues and all that sort of stuff. It flies quite nicely in my book, really. I mean, and as I say, it's still early days. I haven't kind of got the setup kind of tuned into the way I like it and tuned into the model perfectly yet, but it's definitely getting there. And I've got the Bluetooth dongle now, so that will speed things up a lot. Because up to now I've had to use the computer to put it out. I'm reservedly impressed.
Nice, reservedly impressed. Fair enough.
Yes.
So, how much flying have you got done on it?
Probably in the region of about 10 flights ish. And I think the reason why if it was the Vortex at this point, it would be 100% tuned in and perfect and and brilliant. But because I didn't have the Bluetooth dongle to start with, that made the tuning process a lot slower because I was having to do it on the computer. I don't have a Windows laptop, so it meant I had to do it on the desktop, which limited the amount of adjustment I could do, kind of to get it nicely sorted. But I think that the other trouble is that when you're doing the PC software or when you're doing the software on the phone as well, there isn't the number of presets available that you would get on other stuff. So you've literally got, when you set the model, when like on other things, you have a preset for size based on the size of the model, don't you? So
right.
Like you have like 450s and 500s and 550s and 600s and 700s. And when you tell it that it's a certain, when you tell the gyro that it's a certain model, it preloads a bunch of presets for you and gets it very, very close. So then the amount of tuning you have to do from there is very small. But it's kind of tricky because you literally you only have 2 presets. You have 450 or 500 and bigger. So you're using the same preset for a 500 as you would do for a 700, which means the gain values and everything are all completely wrong. Probably, depending on what one you put it on.
Right.
So it's not quite. In some ways, but it does make up for it. I think if you have the Bluetooth dongle, I haven't fully played with that yet. I've literally only just threw it on the model the other evening and haven't had a chance to fly with it yet. But I think it's possible to have your mate with your phone in his hand, standing next to you, whilst you're flying, going carefully, obviously, making adjustments whilst you're flying it. So you go.
Please introduce the wag of death for me.
Yeah, as I say, as long as the interface of the software on the phone is really, really nice and simple. And yes, you can drag the sliders from full one end to the other, but there's also nice, big, easy to push plus and minus buttons. So you should be able to just go. Just tap a few up and a few down just to get little bits done. So, in theory, you should be able to sit there and go with your mate next to you. Go, throw a few pyros into the left and let go. Okay, yep. Okay, the left stop is a bit soft. It needs to be a bit. Need to up the stop damping a little bit. Same thing with the other way, and you should be able to get it sort of reasonably good within a flight, probably quicker than you would do anything else out there. I think that's what it's got going for it. But the only thing is, the Bluetooth dongle was quite expensive. It's like £26, which is what, $45, I think it is. Something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot for a dongle.
Yeah, well, the trouble with Bluetooth, from what I understand, is that you have to, when you make a Bluetooth dongle, you either have to get it to be Bluetooth, X, Y, or use components which are pre-verified. Anyway, it's really expensive, which is why you can pick up dongles on eBay from China for £4 or £5, but over here, which aren't verified, whereas over here you pay a lot more for them. So
For a dongle.
Yeah. I was talking to Angelos at Spartan about it a while back, and it's a bit of a minefield.
Interesting. Cool, man. Well, keep drinking some coffee, and we'll try and keep you awake for the next couple hours. Let's see. Who else is around? Daniel, are you there? Here you are.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm still changing my kit. Yeah, last week I just sold my T-Rex 250. And do you remember this small quad?
Yeah.
A QX. This is the big brother.
Which one is that? The bigger one?
It's one Blade 180 QX.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Yeah, and I just bought it for Black Friday, and in the same night I cannot sleep, so mostly I bought equipment for the project.
Nice.
I don't. Yeah, and I just coming back from one 3 days team building event, and but it's usual for me. Yeah, I swapped this, and sadly I cannot fly in Spain in this hotel, but the weather is nice, and yeah, for FPV I joined one technical company, and they have a new action camera, and I convinced them. Hopefully I will get a full HD action camera, which will be around 200 pounds, 200 USD. They can be fly and streaming straight for your phone. So this will be cool. This will be the new project. Yeah, that's it. Nothing else changed. I fly with the Forza 450 for 2 minutes. They just spinning, and after I realized I missed the last 5 minutes from the setup, so I need to set up again the V bar. But
so it's still in one piece, though, right?
yes, it's definitely one piece. I just lift up, they start spinning, shut down, lift up, spinning, shut down. That I just coming home, watching a 45 minutes video, and yes, I missed this bit, yeah, that's fine. I just bought some extra parts from the 450EX, the new landing skid, and some small things.
Nice. Cool, man. Well, I guess you have to stay awake too, right?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, let's see here. Who's next? Dave? How's it going, man?
Good. So what happened? We have a new host tonight?
Yeah, this is what I look like without a beard, for everyone. I do have a chin. Yeah, it's I don't know, it's time. Back to baby face me.
Yeah.
You got whipped.
Yeah.
What's that?
You got whipped.
Got whipped. Yeah. I'm like Benjamin Button. I aged backwards.
Oh, you got whipped by the wife into shaving it off, didn't you?
Actually, my wife would prefer if I had a goatee, to be honest with you. I think she would like that. But what really happened, the honest truth is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Civil Air Patrol. Probably most of you aren't, but my son and I joined as an adult. My son joined as a cadet member of the Civil Air Patrol, which is an auxiliary of the U.S. Air Force. It's a volunteer organization that does things like search and rescue, disaster recovery, cadets, aerospace, education, things like that. And because it's an Air Force auxiliary, we wear Air Force uniforms, or uniforms that are similar to the Air Force, but you have to meet their grooming standards, which means, and the Air Force standards are no beards. So that's why I shaved, to be honest with you, so that I could meet the regs for the uniform.
Interesting.
But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Maybe that's another show sometime. Talk about all that cool stuff. But anyway, what's up, Dave?
Not much. I've been too busy. And when I have actually some time to do something, the weather's not cooperating. It's either very windy or we're getting some rain finally. So I just sort of been grounded. I really haven't done anything. I think the only flying I've done was on Thanksgiving Day. I managed to get the tricopter out. Actually had a blast with flying that around, but I only had like literally 30, maybe 45 minutes, and that was all the time I had. So I'm living vicariously through everybody else's posts. Watching your mini quad and your FPV setup coming together.
Oh yeah, that's going to get fun really soon because I just got all of the parts, and matter of fact, I'm working on editing the introduction video tonight. So
cool.
That's going to go quick now. So cool.
Mostly, I'm just hanging out here, hoping I can get fired up from some of you guys because I'm grounded.
It's cheaper to be grounded, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Nice. Yeah, the weather here has been really horrible. So even though I have things that I could fly and probably should fly, I haven't had much desire to go out and actually fly. So,
although the interesting thing was I missed the last hangout because I had I was in Boise for a while, and they had a pretty serious snowstorm, and so the place was buried in snow and ice. And one of the things that I noticed while I was there is some of you guys probably have maybe experience with is flying a heli in the snow, simply because the sound is a little bit different. I noticed when you're in an area where there's just a lot of snow, it's somewhat deadened a little bit. I just thought, and the snow is this really dry, powdery stuff. So I just thought, pitch pumps and stuff low to the ground and doing some really low level stuff, kicking up some of that powdery stuff would be interesting to fly in. So.
Yeah, I never really thought about it. I guess I've flown over a little bit, but we don't get snow here like I used to get in Colorado, so I'm sure it's different.
Okay.
All right, that's it. All right. Well, you can live. We'll try and help you spend some money tonight. I promise.
Thank you.
All right, Casper, what have you been up to?
Well, it was pretty much a social week with Thanksgiving and all. I did get in a couple flights of the 500 and a couple on the 450. I didn't see much in the way of Black Friday hot specials. I'd been leaning towards an FPV for a while, and in fact loaded 2 baskets, one for an FPV plane, the Penguin, and the other one I got ready was for a Quad 250 for an FPV, and in both cases I bailed before pulling the trigger because all I had to do was look on my bench and see projects I still got to do and repairs I still got to do, and know that if I brought something in, those would just fall to the wayside. So
don't let that get in the way, man. If you're doing it right, you're going to have 20 projects stacked up anyway.
Yeah, I just thought, boy, there's only so much time, and every time you divide it by another project, it gets that much less. So I just got to clean up some of these projects I have, I think, before. And the products keep changing, prices keep lowering, new items come on board, you can never stay ahead. So maybe things will work out. Yeah. So it's always interesting.
It's interesting you brought up the Penguin because I've actually been kind of eyeballing that as well. So I know somebody who's on here tonight maybe can tell us a little bit about what's going on with that too.
Yeah, I noticed it was made by the same company as that gentleman was with. So
yeah, we'll see if he talks to us.
All right.
All right, cool. Well, I guess Joe, it's actually your turn now. I'm to you. So speaking of penguins and FPV, tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself since this is your first time. That's the initiation.
Hi everybody, my name's Joe. I work at Ready Made RC. I do product testing and development for them. I'm also part of Team RMRC, and I travel the world to different shows and stuff. So if you have any shows that you'd like us to come to, shoot me a message or something, and we'll see what we can do about making it out there. I'm into everything except for collective pitch helicopters, planes, boats, quads.
Everything except what this hangout is built around, right?
Yes, everything. One day I'll get there. One day. I just see the crashes of them and how much they cost, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet.
Yeah, that's a high price for entry is crash costs, but
yes, definitely.
The good news is, and I imagine that's why you're here, is the almost all of us who do helicopters have to some degree got into other aspects of the hobby, including multirotors, which I don't think there's a person on the hangout that doesn't have some sort of a multirotor in addition to their helicopters. So this is kind of turning into a little bit like a rotor hangout instead of just helis.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I noticed that you guys have a bunch of interest in multirotors. Myself, I like to build oddball things. Right here, I can show you. This is a 250 size Y8 or X8. Sorry, 5-inch props, 8 of them, 8 speed controls. Hopefully, this thing will be a little rocket.
Nice. So you haven't even made it yet, huh?
No, I'm still in the build process. I just finished designing the landing gear for it so I could fit a nice fat battery under it.
That's crazy. So you got another, what else you have going on? I saw there was something going on with RC UK, right?
Yes.
Some sort of a build challenge. What is that about?
Yes, the RC UK guy, his name's Malk, he challenged me to build a quadcopter frame out of a 4-in-1 ESC that I had laying around. I have that one right here. I'm just about done with it. I need to program the nays and get it going, but you can see right there, that is the 4-in-1 ESC, and I designed arms to mount onto it, and we'll see where this challenge takes me. Hopefully not into the ground.
Nice. Cool. We'll have to keep up and see how that's going. So, all right, cool. Well, thanks for joining. Welcome to the Heli Hangout crew. I'm sure you'll have plenty to talk about once we get going.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Let's see here. Rifted. What's been going on, man?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, finally I was able to join. Also had a couple of meetings and last-minute things to do on Friday, and didn't know about the last one. It was a little bit radical. I think something went wrong with the Hangouts or with my account. I'm not sure what happened, but I was not even aware of it. Strange, but yeah. Actually, right now that we have Joe, this was bought out through you guys, Ready-Made RC. This one.
Look at that. DRQ
Yeah,
250?
this little one came all the way to Mexico. So, yeah.
Nice.
I think, I'm not sure if you went to Flight Fest. If you were there, I met you, so it was cool. And what I've been doing lately, well, getting ready to fly on the 24th and 25th. I'm going to be out of the city, so I'm getting ready to fly, and it's a cold place called San Miguel de Allende, and actually that's my picture that I took me flying FPV, and so I'm getting ready to fly there again, and don't lose anything, because last time I was there, my quad, I lost video from my feed, and I had to drop it out. I spent 3 hours looking for the freaking thing, and finally I was about to give up, and I found it, so I didn't lose the machine. So yeah, and yeah, basically that's it. It's I've only been rebuilding and getting ready for Christmas.
Nice. Cool, man.
Yeah.
How's the weather down there right now?
Right now it's been great. No rain, a little bit of wind. Not as cold as up there. We don't have snow, but it's been cold for us. It's not like a constant cold. It's you can hit 20s, which is about 580s out through the day, and about 50s later afternoon, or in the shed, you can get that temperature. So it's a little bit radical, the change of weather down here. But fortunately, there haven't been much rain, so I've been able to have a little bit of a test with this little guys and get ready. So yeah, all the time I lose while on the weekends we had a lot of rain and not able to go out and enjoy the day. Right now, well, it's picking up.
Nice.
A little bit different.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right then. Let's see here. Raj, what's been going on, man?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well.
As far as what's been going on, I get a no-fly for a while.
A while.
Yeah, the last time I flew, I was still in Arizona, and I shouldn't have, because I made a bad mistaken judgment. You know, I thought the sun was down far enough that I could safely fly, and I went out and proceeded to put the helicopter right up into the sun where I couldn't see it, and ended up crashing it. So,
ouch.
My 500 is history.
Wow.
Wait, history, like non-repairable, like rekit history?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was
stinks.
Yeah, it ended up crashing in the street, upside down, and it tore it up pretty good. You know, just about everything that could bend bent, and it was not pretty picking up the pieces. I was lucky that there wasn't a whole lot of traffic on the street. I might have hit a car, but it did come down the street. And like I say, it's a rekit. But I don't think I'm even going to do another 500. I asked Santa Claus for a E5, a Synergy E5, and that came today. So it's in the house.
Wow, Santa comes early at your house.
Well, I don't get to touch it until Christmas Eve, so it's going to kill me knowing that it's here. But
Yeah.
you know, that's going to be a present. The rest of since I got back, I went up to Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, so I missed the last hangout. I went up there for my annual deer ambush and was successful. I got a smaller 8-point, so that's going to be good. I like to make chili and sloppy joes out of them, and it's usually pretty tasty.
Nice.
We're discussing FPV racing amongst the guys I fly with here in Joliet, and we're trying to figure out what might be the best airframe to try and put together for FPV racing. I'm thinking the QAV 250, or maybe that new Gemini, that little 6-channel or 6-prop job. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I checked out the Gemini. The only problem with it is the cost. It's a little spendy.
Well, it's $600 for everything. The only thing that you need is a receiver and your transmitter, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I guess I haven't tallied up what it would cost.
Well, I think if you went and just put together a 250 quad, you'd be pretty much in the same ballpark.
I don't know. I'll tell you soon because I'm tallying up cost for this DRQ 250 I'm building. So we'll see. We'll see how we get.
Okay. I have been listening to podcasts, and I'm lamenting the fact that I'm not going down to Orlando Heli Blowout this weekend.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Sounds like they're going to have a good time down there. And then I listened to your latest podcast last night, and that kind of got my interest piqued in studying for my FCC licenses so I can legally do FPV. So I think I'm going to be starting that.
I tell you what, man, it's really easy to get, and I shared this on Facebook, but what is it? Crap! It just spaced me. Hold on. hamstudy.org. hamstudy.org.
hamstudy.org. Okay.
Yeah, hamstudy.org. They have online practice tests and flashcards, and that's all I used to study. Is I just went through, and you can memorize the entire pool of questions. And the test was really kind of easy, after just crashing with that for about a week. So now application's different, right, than getting through the test. Obviously, there's the concept of actually learning the material and getting familiar with it, and then there's the other side, which is just getting enough done so you can pass the test and meet the FCC's requirements. I started out with meeting the FCC's requirements, which got me through the test, but since I've been playing with things after, things are starting to click a little bit more, because some of the things you kind of have to play with before it registers. So, but anyway, hamstudy.org.
Okay, I let Google be my friend a little bit, and found a couple of sites that offered study guides, and I was looking at the one for the technician license, and that's all pretty basic Ohm's law and a little bit of antenna theory and wavelength and that kind of stuff. So, that one I should probably just go take that test.
Yeah, it's really not that hard. And depending, like you probably heard on the RC Hangar Time podcast, but my local club gives out the test for free. And I'm sure there are probably other clubs that do it at no cost. So I just literally drove over there after work one day and took the test and got licensed. It was a lot easier than I thought it was, because it seemed kind of out of reach and scary, when I first started thinking about, ham radio licensing, but it was really easy.
I think it used to be when you had the Morse code requirement as part of the license, but since they relaxed that and let that go away, I think it's pretty much just all basic theory, at least for the technician license.
Yeah, you're right. There was some understanding wattage and resistance and just general electronic stuff that we deal with in the hobby. So almost all of that stuff was saying like, oh yeah, I know this from the hobby. I know how to to convert some of these values, and then differences between polarity of antennas, horizontally polarized versus vertically polarized. Again, stuff that we're doing in the hobby. So all the things that we've learned about, placing our antenna, on our transmitter so it doesn't point directly at the model. All that stuff starts to come into play with the technician license. So it should be a fairly easy transition.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I think it makes sense when you understand what they're telling you there. So.
Yeah.
And let's see. Today a little bit, I was working on getting my simulators upgraded. I upgraded to Phoenix, the latest rev on Phoenix, and I've been trying to get my AccuRC upgraded, and I'm having trouble with it. And it gets all the way through downloading the files, and then it tells me that it can't access some kind of a copy thing, and then it just dies. So, I'm not sure what's going on there. I deleted the updater and downloaded the latest version, which is definitely different than what I had on there, and it still does the same thing. So I'm not sure what's going on with that yet.
Is it just flagging up an error and then stopping completely, or can you just click OK and it carries on and then you can exit and then you're done?
No, it just well, here, let me try that. I did not click OK.
There are, I know, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I know there are a couple of issues with various antiviruses that are doing some weird stuff.
Okay, I'm bringing up. I did click OK, and the last time I tried it, I just shut it down. Yeah. So this is the first go around on the new updater. So it's bringing up the system now, and I'll let you know if it has completed the update before we finish here tonight. So, if
it doesn't update, then just stick a ticket on the Zendesk, on the Accuracy Zendesk.
Okay.
And they'll get you sorted.
Okay. I've also been working on my N7, getting that back in flying shape. I had a little incident with that, and it met a corn stalk I didn't like. But damage was minimal on it, and I bought the parts. I wasn't really going to fix it until spring, but I bought the parts when I got home from Arizona, and it's back together. But it's not going to fly because my transmitter is out in Arizona, so it's at least back together.
Cool.
No, it did not work, Adrian. It still says I'm on version 1.3. Okay.
Okay, that's a bit strange. If you go to accuracy.zendesk.com, and then you can tick a ticket in there, and they'll get you sorted.
Okay. I'll do that after we're done here tonight. Let's see. Other than that, I think I'm done then with my update. Nothing else, but getting ready for Christmas. Other than that, things are cool.
Cool.
Cold here and warm in Arizona. Which kind
Yeah,
of
no
sucks.
doubt.
So.
All right. Well, let's see. Clay, back over to you. How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. It's going real good. Missed I know the last two. I think maybe the last three hangouts. One we went to a fly-in. It's about an hour and a half away from here. It was local. We had fun there. Spent the weekend camping. That was the first weekend it got cold here. It was a little interesting. One of the guys I went with at 1 o'clock in the morning actually he abandoned ship and went to Walmart and came back with a heater. So it was a fun time. We did that. Been flying a lot lately. A lot of the local guys here. Cortez, one of the guys on Team Synergy, he lives here. He's got back in and got a whole bunch of helis and been flying with him for the last couple of days. Having a lot of fun, just flying as much as I can. Started flying on my lunch break now. Sneak out behind the plant with the 450 and fly it a little bit. But that's about it, man. Just doing the do, man. Trying to get as much flight time as I can and play around.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. So, by the way, I know a lot of people have missed the last hangout for sure, just because it wasn't hitting the calendars right. So, Aid has convinced me to figure out how to fix it. But long story short of why things have changed over the last couple of over the last year. Originally, when I was doing the hangouts, I had a small enough circle of people in my, I have like a heli circle in Google Plus that I could invite, which I think if I do a direct invite, and Aid, you have to, more about how this works than I do, but if I do a direct invite with the event, it ends up on your calendar and all of that stuff. Whereas instead, lately I've just been sharing it publicly, and that's because my heli circle's too big. It won't let me invite everyone. So
yeah, it took me a minute to find the link today. So
yeah, so Aid had a good idea, which was just split the circle up into two different circles and then invite them both that way. So I'll try that on the next event and see if I can make it easier on you guys. I wasn't really aware of the fact that you weren't getting notifications the way you used to, and I think a lot of people have been having a hard time keeping up with when the hangout is without notifications or something showing in their event calendar. So is that right, Aid? Is it the notifications that stop when I do it publicly?
Yeah, if you just do a straight shared post, then it will appear in people's streams, but then not necessarily people won't necessarily see it because not everybody will actually see the post, and it won't show up in your own calendar, even though it's shared with you. It won't show in your calendar until you say yes or maybe. But as you say, there is a limit to how many people you can invite in any one time. But what I generally do with rotors is I will invite as many as I can from the rotors page itself, and then top the rest up from my personal, which is semi unlimited. You've got
Nice.
it's almost like you've got another sort of batch of invites that can go out. And also anybody else can do the same as well. So if you sort of encourage people to invite their friends, then that's good too.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So that's what happened though, guys. Is I was just trying to add the circle that I've been doing, but my circle keeps growing, and it got to the point where Google said, yeah, forget it, you can't invite that circle because it's too big, but it would let me invite public. So like it lets me invite everybody, but not too big of a smaller subset. Anyway, so what I did is I just created a public event and then shared it on my timeline. And just depending on if you caught that or not, you may or may not have noticed it. So we'll see if I can do it better next time, because I know it's a struggle sometimes to keep up with scheduling and everything going on, and hard enough to remember things. So, and I keep getting the same notifications the way I always have. I get a notification the day before, I get a notification the hour before. So I didn't realize you guys weren't getting that anymore. So.
Yeah, because you're the organizer.
Because it gets me on my off Fridays. But the link wasn't there, so I was looking around all over the page for the link. I actually had to go into the chat for where you post up for the Hangout, and it stays there for like a week or two, and it has the countdown. And then when you typed in you're going to start in 12 minutes or whatever it was, that's where the link was at. So it wasn't on the top right corner of the screen anymore.
Yeah, so I post that link every single time I start a Hangout in the comments of the event, just so that people that weren't necessarily invited, which turns out now is nobody, can go in and click that and still get into the Hangout. So if some random person right now went to the event page, they could click on that and join us, assuming we weren't full, which we're close, but not yet.
It's 10 people, right?
Yeah, 10 people's the max.
Yeah.
And I'm told you can extend it with a business account, but I don't know if I want any more than 10 people on. Might be a little challenging. Yeah. So, by the way, speaking of Hangouts, Aid, how's your new format? What's the feedback on that for the Rotor Show?
It's been very good, and I apologise for similarities. I hope I'm not treading on your toes too much.
I didn't copyright this format. I just used it.
What is that?
I think it works.
You guys had Nick on there, and the next day he was gone, and you guys were doing something different. What happened?
Right. How much information am I going to give?
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
I was just curious.
Let's just say there were creative differences.
Yeah, what Nick called it creative differences. I called it financial differences. In terms of he wanted to make money off of it, and me and Kev didn't, basically. We didn't see that it would be something that would be worth making money out of, and then it just turned into a job. We wanted it to be fun, try and get a few freebies along the way, and help a few of the traders out, and do the right thing for the sport, and help you guys out as well. Just help. Whereas Nick was just trying to push it commercial all the time, and basically that's sort of where it went. And then there was one Hangout call between us that went from, you just said, well, if you don't want to make money out of it, then I'm done. And we went, okay. Bye.
Yeah. Okay, well that's cool. Like I said, I was just curious. I had no idea. I knew it changed from one moment I watched it, and then the next time I watched it, it was different. And you had posted a comment and said that he was not going to be there. I just didn't know.
Yeah, no, it's just financial differences, shall we say, and that's as simple as that. And the trouble is, it's very difficult with the next show that we did with Chris Walton and stuff, and we kept the same format. But I mean, all respect to the bloke, he's got a big personality, and it's very difficult to keep that kind of style of show going without that kind of voice, at the head of the show. And it just was, me and Kev just didn't feel comfortable in that kind of environment. It was all a bit too professional, for want of a better word, and a bit too commercial, and it's not really where we wanted to be. So we kind of the idea is we still get some recognisable name people to come on as well, but then you guys are all invited to come on and sort of talk directly with these people, as well as watch it live. So it's kind of, I'm hoping it's kind of a bit of a best of both worlds. Get the people on to talk about their stuff, but at the same time get a bit more involvement from you guys. And I think the last one was the first one where we did that. We had Rachel Plant on, who's a bit of a name that you might recognise over here, and I was very comfortable with it. It felt very natural, and it wasn't hard work. It felt nice to do. It was good fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I popped in there, and you guys talked about some stuff that I don't have a lot of exposure to, so I appreciated that. Which is basically the competition side of the things. So I really enjoyed listening to you guys talk about that.
Yeah, you over in the States, you don't seem to have an awful lot of competition stuff going on.
Correct.
It's there's a whole. I mean, there's, as well as the actual sort of 3D stuff like the Heli Masters and that sort of thing. There's two official FAI classes, which is F3C, which is basically precision hovering and precision aerobatics. And then there's the F3N, which is a lot closer to what you would recognise as being 3D, but just a bit more formal. And it's a great way of honing your skills, competition flying, or at least practicing for competition flying. It gives you a bit of structure. It's quite cool.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, IRCHA, right? We've got IRCHA here, which is sort of the big show, but seems like all things just kind of point to IRCHA, and that's our big event for the year. So,
well,
I mean, there are other ones.
Half the crew here in Augusta left out for Orlando.
Yeah,
it's growing.
I was gonna say that's the other one, and I wish I was there right now because it's probably warmer than it is here.
Yeah, it is. It's been weird here in the South. It's been nice in the afternoons and cold at night, and then there's a couple days last week it got down right at freezing. It bounces around down here. You never can tell.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty here at the moment. It's down at 2 degrees C, which is just above freezing. It's pretty nifty.
Right.
But you've got XFC over there. Sorry.
Just gonna say we should all go down to Mexico and live with Rifted.
You've got XFC over there as well, though, haven't you? Is that still going?
What was that?
You've got XFC over in the States, haven't you?
Yeah.
I heard some talk about it. I don't know where they hold the events at.
I never heard about that event before.
Yeah, they have it. I'm trying to. That's a Futaba hosted thing, I think. I'm looking to see where it is. Oh yeah, that's in Muncie. So yeah, that's going to be in June 12th through 14th of this next year in at AMA headquarters.
Don't you have to be invited to fly in that?
Yes. Yeah, definitely not a fun flyish sort of a thing, but let's see who the invitees are. For helicopter, it's Colin Bell, Paul Blyce, Campbell Broody, Derek Chicas, Kyle Dahl, James Haley, AJ Jeffy. I can't read this thing. It's too small. Mitch Morozes, Nick Maxwell, William Ramsey, Jamie Robertson, Ryan Sams, Kyle Stacy, and Ben Storick. So
USA pilot.
There's a couple of heavyweights there, huh?
Yeah, but you're right. Eight. It's all locals. Do you guys get a lot of U.S. pilots at your competitions over there in Europe?
Yeah, at Heli Masters, you have Nick Maxwell and Jamie Robertson was over. I'm not sure about if he was at Heli Masters, but he was certainly at Zone. He won it. Who else came over? I think that was the only two Americans that came over this time. Oh, and I was wrong. Colin Bell is in Canada. He's from Canada.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah,
They're moving Heli Masters this year, right?
What's that?
Aren't they moving Heli Masters this year?
Yeah, it's going into down to Germany.
What was this? I was listening on Heli Nation. They were boasting about it returning home. Did it originate from there?
No, not that I'm aware of.
They were talking about it on Heli Nation. I was trying to figure out what exactly it was, and something about an advertisement for the event said they were returning home. I didn't understand what that meant.
No, I don't. Well, because originally, the story there is it used to be 3D Masters in the UK, and then the organizer got a bit greedy and decided he was going to go. I think it went to Spain somewhere first. I think he got fed up with the UK weather, and then then he went to Spain, and then he went to Venlo for a couple of years. And I think the Venlo guys decided that they could do it themselves without the 3D Masters organizer, and just sort of neglected to invite him. It's the story I heard, and then Heli Masters was born. So they kind of stole it off of Jeff Barringer, I think. But yeah, no, that was quite funny because he wasn't particularly popular over here because he would, the plot prices for the commercial people were incredibly expensive, and he was he was trying to be Bernie Ecclestone of 3D. It was quite Sailing Mystery just ended up looking like a bit of a tit, but yeah. Quite funny, really. So yeah, I don't know. The short answer is I don't know where this returning home thing came from.
Oh well, I haven't heard. I'm a couple episodes behind on most of my podcasts lately, so I haven't heard that one yet.
Actually, I just got a new app for the iPhone. It's got the podcast and a different app out of iTunes block now, whatever it is. And the only two I have running right now is our Heli Hangout and RCHN. So I've been, over the last couple of weeks, like I said, I went to that out-of-town event. Then Keena's grandmother passed away, so we were in North Carolina for a few days there. Then the next week was Thanksgiving. She busted her foot in the meantime, too. So the last 4 weeks have been hectic, and I seem to have been behind the wheel of the truck an awful lot more. So I've been catching up on all the podcasts. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, you need to add RC Hangar Time to your list, man.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? It's in one of. I was looking at that the other day. I don't know if I clicked on the button. I've been looking at that one as well. But
I'm one of the hosts on that now, right?
Yeah, I've listened to a few of the episodes. Yeah. I like you and the other host there. It's fun. It's fun to listen. It's informative and it's fun. You guys have a good time going on there.
Yeah, it's all right. It's fun, but anyway. So I have to advertise it if we're talking about podcasts. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I want to take advantage of something, and I didn't necessarily ask Joe if this was okay, but we have Mr. Ready Made RC right here with us. So I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions for him. We should bug the heck out of him.
I have a question.
Yeah, shoot.
Right. Let's do it.
I have my hand up. Okay, on a ESC, I see that guys traditionally fly with an ESC that has been Simon K flashed. Now, I know one thing about Simon K, and that's the fact that they, when you do that, you eliminate low voltage cutoff in the ESC. What else happens when you do a Simon K flash?
The operating hertz of the ESC actually goes up normally from about 400 to 600. Other than that, I believe that's just about it. Some small tweaks here and there, but in reality, I personally don't care either way. If I have my choice, I just go with what's cheapest.
I personally like Castle Creations ESCs, and they sell a quad pack. Now, do you know if that quad pack has been Simon Cade?
That one has not been Simon Cade. They had wrote their own software for it. I actually have one right over here in this DRQ 360. This is a prototype, but first time I ran the Castle ESCs in this thing, and I tell you what, I probably will not buy any other ones. They are so smooth, and I love the fact that you can hook them up to a computer and program them.
Hey, there you go.
Okay, I lost part of that conversation. It sounded a little bit like Stephen Hawking. Are you saying that the Castle Creations were good or bad?
Good.
Okay. Okay.
He said, click the buy it now button.
Yeah, and just on the same note, we do carry all the Castle Creations stuff, and I actually have a coupon code for you guys that is good for a week for 5% off anything in the store. It's Heli Hangout, one word.
Wait, is that Heli Hangout plural with an S on the end?
Nope, no S, just Heli Hangout.
Okay, cool. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. Make it last for till January that I have money. Right now, I don't have any money.
Trust me, there'll be other coupon codes.
Okay, great. I still have the one from FlyFest.
I don't think that one works anymore.
Oh, come on.
So what's your take on the tilted motors?
Tilted motors are something new. Actually, we just designed some adapters for the DRQ 250. Sorry, it's a different concept. If you can get it to move forward without tilting, you should be able to have less drag on the motor or on the frame, like air drag. So in theory, it should make you faster. But there is something coming around the corner that is going to be totally different, something that nobody has ever seen before.
Cool.
Well, my understanding of why you do it is you get a better view angle of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. There's two parts to that. If you've flown a quad before, you know when you're going full tilt forward, you're staring at the ground. People have either tilted their camera when they fly. I've seen people put servos and make a little tilt so that when you're flying forward, the gimbal stays level or the servo stays level. But that is a big part of it, but also wind drag. If you're really, really into racing, people want it to be as streamlined as possible. And if you have that multirotor tilted down like this, going forward, you have a ton of wind resistance hitting the top plate.
Right.
Yeah, the last time I had my tricopter out and I was really pushing it hard, that's exactly what I was thinking. If I had my GoPro on it, all I would see is the ground because his nose was just pointed down the whole time.
Yeah, a lot of controllers like the NASA, the NAS, the CC3D, they all support servo-style gimbals. So you can actually make your own gimbal or buy one and put it on there, and it will hold that camera level.
Yeah, I don't have my camera gimbal on right now, but I did have one that I made that worked really well for that.
Yeah, it's definitely this racing is really exploded here recently. I'm actually in talks with a company trying to come up with a lap counting system so we can actually do this racing like you do with RC cars.
Cool.
Can you not just use the RC car one, or is there not enough range on it? Do you have to be too low coming over the line?
Unfortunately, no. They say that particular system has to be within 12 inches of the antenna or the wire that's in the ground. I'm looking for something like 3 meters.
Well, even 3 meters would be pretty tight, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be pretty tight. My thought is it will be like it'll be a kit that you get and you put flags out and you have the start and finish line, you force them to go through a hoop. And if you don't go through that hoop, that lap doesn't count. You have to go through the loop.
Checkpoint.
Yeah. Limbo poles. That'll do it.
Yep.
So I have a question. When you're, my experience of quads is limited to kind of the more the aerial photography side of things, and with them, you know, they generally fly them in self level or GPS mode and this sort of stuff. Do you fly them in full manual?
I personally do not. I do have some people that I work with that actually prefer that over that. I use like self-stabilized mode normally with no GPS. It also depends on what type of flying I'm doing. Like you said, if you're doing aerial photography, you want GPS so you can have that backup and it stays in the area you put it.
But for racing, what you still fly self-level?
Yeah, I still fly self-level. I still use the training wheels, but I crank the max angle all the way up.
Nice. That's interesting because when I posted, you probably, I know, Joe, you saw the video I posted of me playing with the FPV gear on my tricopter, and there actually ended up being some sort of a discussion on the YouTube comments where there was like this kind of bantering back and forth between a couple guys about that whether or not it was okay to use self-level or not self-level, and it seemed like, you know, it started because somebody said, "Hey, take it out of self-level. You shouldn't be in self-level," and then the other guy says, "Why? You know, why not?" And it just kind of went back and forth. But it's kind of like, you know, Ford or Chevy, you know.
Yeah, it's all personal preference. It's for toddler spectrum.
My understanding is that, in theory at least, the full manual mode should be quicker, especially, or should be easier to get a nice coordinated turn going.
Yeah.
You see a lot of them. They'll when they're using self level, they go around a sharp turn, and rather than doing a nice bank and yank pull round, you know, like you would do with a conventional helicopter, they all get a bit sideways and then they come to a stop, and then they have to accelerate out the turn.
Yeah, definitely. That would happen when one of your sticks comes to center, because then it's going to want to level. You just have to fly through it aggressively. There's going to be different lines that you do when you race if you're in self-leveling mode or if you're in manual mode. It's like I said, it's all up to the person flying and their comfort level.
It's like agility mode, right? Is kind of, I don't know what they're called in the different systems, but not true like self-level entirely, but more of gives you a little bit of control, right?
Yes, there's different modes. In the Naze, I believe it is Horizon. In the Vector, it is center stick. In the CC3D, it is Ratitude mode. The more progressive you go over on the stick, left, right, up, or down, it will actually allow the quad to flip over, and it gets away from the self-stabilization, which it makes it really easy for flips. And if you want, real quick, you want to do a fast pass or something, you can do it very easy with that, and then just let go of the sticks, and it'll level itself out.
Your preferred controller?
It depends on what I'm flying. If I'm flying something small, I like the Naze. If I'm flying something big, I like the Vector.
Okay.
You ever fly with a Quadrino Zoom?
No, I have not.
Okay. I've got a White Spy 460 or 450 size, and it has the Quadrino Zoom. And I fly that in self-level all the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it tends to get away from me.
Yeah.
I think that that machine is a little bit too fragile to take racing. The arms are fairly thin fiberglass, and there's two parallel arms that make up the arm. And, if you hit them hard, they will break.
Oh wow!
So, I would anticipate there's a lot of hitting hard in racing.
Yes, not too much contact between two aircraft. It's normally contact between the aircraft and the ground.
Exactly.
But earlier you were asking about a cheap frame. We actually just got in the other day Emax frame. It comes with everything you need except for your battery and your receiver. I believe it's like 155, and it's a carbon fiber G10 composite frame. And this thing is tough as nails. I dropped one out of the sky, probably 140 feet into the mud, and I broke a prop.
Pretty reasonable.
I'm looking online right now. It looks like the Emax Nighthawk 250 quad combo.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that it? $154.99.
And that's everything you need?
That's everything you need except for your receiver and your battery. It comes with a CC3D, which is a clone. But even though it's a clone, we donate money to the CC3D or the Open Pilot project on each one that we sell.
What's the CC3D a clone of?
The CC3D is part of the Open Pilot program. It is not a clone of anything. The CC3D is its own thing, but there's a lot of Chinese companies that have been cloning the CC3D, and in all honesty, they manufacture them a lot cheaper, and they're good quality. But we like it's an open source program. We like the open source program, so we talked to them. We said, we want to carry some cheaper options for people. We got a hold of this board, but we still want to donate money per each board that we sell. So a portion of the money from the boards goes back to the Open Pilot program so that they can work on developing more stuff for these.
What's your opinion between like a CC3D versus the NAs?
I personally like the NAs over the CC3D. I have always had issues in the past. Maybe it's I'm just too impatient and don't want to spend a lot of time tuning, but the CC3D is a little bit harder to tune. I find the NAs a lot easier to tune and the software is easier to work with.
Okay. NAS 32, you would go with the full bells and whistles or with the light version?
If I'm doing racing or something like that, I go with the light version.
Would it affect if you go with the full bells and whistles, or it would fly the same?
It would fly the same. The full bells and whistles has a barometer and a compass on it. The barometer will help you hold altitude, so you can tune that in. So it takes a little bit of throttle control off of you and puts it on the board. Also, on the full NAs, you can get a cheap GPS and throw it on there, then you can have full GPS capability with a NAS. That does take a little bit of tuning and lots of research online, but it is capable.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I did purchase the full bells and whistles, but I haven't finished up because one of the guys on Australia posted a couple of videos on how to add the telemetry and all your stuff to the FR Sky. BMS Web was the guys from Australia, and he made a little bit of a video, which totally worth it if you fly with FR Sky.
Mm-hmm.
How to bend, how to use the ASBUS, how to transmit your voltage. So it's totally worth it if you fly FR Sky, obviously. And
yeah.
I was just wondering your experience if the NAS 32 full version would work also as the light version.
In the aspects of telemetry, they both would work the same. The only difference the light is the barometer and the compass.
So interesting you brought that up about the NAS 32 and the FrSky telemetry, because that's exactly the same thing I'm going to be playing with on mine. And that video you mentioned, Rifted, is the same one probably that I watched that made me realize that that's doable. So I ordered a little DR4 receiver just for that.
Yeah. It's yeah, but I'm really looking forward. Now in January, I'm gonna place a lot of orders once I'm stable money wise. So yeah, I'm gonna order a lot of FR Sky products and just also have a little bit of a downtime project, trying to build a good quad with 15 inches props, so I can fly a little bit extra time with 6S, around 25 minutes. I haven't decided yet the frame and motors, but I'm looking forward to buy something to film only. So let's see what's on the pocket at that time. But right now, I'm trying to kind of rebuild, because right now my little mini is flying with a NASA light. It flies well, but it's not like 100% what I'm looking for. And I bought the NACE 32. It took a while to arrive. I contact Time Cup. No, it's not Time Cup. Oh man. Well, I contact them, letting them know that I did receive it. So it took a little bit over a month. I was a little bit worried that it was lost in the mail, but apparently it did arrive. Well, anyway, and so I'm really looking forward to build the telemetry with the FR Sky, and yeah, but let's see what happens to it. But I'm really excited that it's gonna work and make it even lighter, my little mini quad.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, so Joe, what's your transmitter brand of choice?
I actually have two transmitters. I have a Futaba 9 cap and a Tyrannus.
Nice.
Yeah, the Futaba 9 cap has been kind of the go-to before the Tyrannus came out for FPV flying, just because they're easy to come by and they have all the ports you need for a 433 system.
9 CAP. Wow, that's a bit old school. I've got a couple of those in my spares drawer.
Put them on eBay. Somebody will buy them.
How many channels do you really need to go FPV racing?
Honestly, I fly on my minis with 5 channels. Your aileron, elevator, rudder, throttle, and mode switch. And
the mode switch takes you in and out of self-stabilize, right?
Yeah, whatever level, whatever mode you want to set up on your flight controller.
Okay.
Now, can you just pull a regular Spectrum like AR600 out of a park flyer and use, or?
Yes, absolutely. You can use any 2.4 radio or anything like that. Any receiver that that offers the regular channels out would work.
Does the CC3D take S-Bus?
The CC3D does take S-Bus, I believe. The NASE does not.
How
can you
program
PM though, right?
Can you hook it up with SAT?
You can hook up the CC3D with SAT. The NASE, I believe you can. You have to make a custom wire for it. And to answer your question, Chris, they will do PPM, both of them.
Right. Okay.
How difficult is it to program these open source boards? I haven't got into the world of multi-rotor yet. I'd like that. These little mini quad things are awesome. I love watching the races and stuff. How difficult is it to program these boards and get them to fly right?
The thing is if you go with a popular frame and a popular setup, for the most part, you can get somebody's setup off the internet and just transfer it right over to your controller, set up your radio, and go. If you're doing your tuning yourself, the bigger the multi-rotor, the easier the tuning. The CC3D, like I said, is a little bit harder to tune than the NASE. That's just my personal opinion. But the NASE is, I used to have a lot of Eagle Tree vectors, and I've actually started switching them over to NASEs because I like them. And I tend to crash a lot, and I don't want to cry when I crash and destroy a $250 controller.
a lot of reports with the Nice 32 Clay mentioned that out of the box it flies pretty well, so you don't have to tune a lot.
Yeah, I've noticed on the NAS 32 at a 300 and above size quadcopter, they fly really well out of the box. On a 250 size quadcopter, they will fly, but you will have the occasional twitching, which you just have to turn your gains down a little bit, and it's pretty simple.
I remember. Go ahead.
Do you have to mess with the PIDs at all?
Yes, they have like an overall gain setting, and then you can, if that doesn't solve your problem, you can adjust the P and the I and the D.
Okay.
What about for the 250 racy stuff? What about for the goggles and that sort of thing? What if there? Yeah, do you need to go as far as HD and that sort of thing?
Well, in reality, right now there are HD downlinks, but they are ridiculously expensive. The Fat Shark Dominator HDs can do HD, but you have to remember when you're transmitting over an analog band, you are transmitting at a standard definition. It's not HD. So right now, the market, I don't see a need for HD goggles. I personally like the V2s. They come with a DVR, and they have all the same features, maybe not as wide of a field of view, but I also feel that the Dominator HDs have too big of a field of view. When I fly, sometimes I have an OSD, and if I'm wearing the HDs, I feel like my eyes are hunting around the screen for the information, and it becomes tiresome, and I just rather would fly with the V2s.
Is that Predator V2s or Dominator V2s?
Dominator V2s. They're kind of hard to come across right now just because there's such a high demand for them. I actually have a pair right here. But once the demand is filled, they should be available, and they're not really that expensive. I believe they're about $350, but they include a DVR that's built into them. And if you were to run an external DVR, you're talking anywhere from $50 to $110, $120.
You guys still have any in
Do
stock?
very many people race FPV with just using a screen display rather than goggles?
Yes, absolutely. I actually prefer when I am flying to use a monitor. I have a pair of goggles for when I just like toss in the trunk and go, but I prefer a monitor. As you can see, I wear glasses, and it's a little bit easier to see. But you can use a monitor for anything you want, really. We have monitors that are very bright, so they don't allow the sun to block out the image, and they come with a sun shield and all that stuff.
Well, I can't see anybody here tonight. I'm not getting any video. All I'm getting is the audio. So,
okay.
I do wear glasses, and it's a concern of mine that I actually have trifocals in my glass, and I would be concerned about the compatibility between my glasses and goggles.
Yes, absolutely. That's something that I was concerned with too. If you're nearsighted, which means you can't see far, they do make diopter inserts for the goggles. You can use those. But then if something was to happen and you needed to pull the goggles off real quick, you're blind.
That could be a problem, and my problem is that my arms are too short. I can't read up. I can't see up close.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm long-sighted, and my experience with the goggles that I've used, I can't remember which ones they were, but they had focus dials on each separate lens.
Oh, were they white?
No, they were black.
Oh, okay. I don't know what those are then.
I can't remember what they were, but they had sort of
they
focus dials on.
They had an adjustable diopter built into the goggles.
I'm not sure, but I was able to focus them in.
Yeah, kind of like on a camera.
Yeah.
Where you focus the viewfinder. Okay.
Yeah, or it's a pair of binoculars, same sort of thing, and I was able to focus them in quite nicely. But my eyesight isn't that bad, and I'm long-sighted, so if you're sort of really short-sighted or something like that, for instance, I don't have any trouble in bright sunlight flying without glasses. It's uncomfortable, but I can do it.
Yeah, there are a pair of goggles that we sell, but they are very expensive. They're over $700 just for the goggles, and they don't have a built-in receiver. But they're like top of the line, very clear picture, can do HD, 3D images, all this stuff, and they have a built-in diopter that's adjustable for negative and positive.
Okay.
But I think they're overkill.
Yeah.
Are those the cinemizers?
Yes, those are the cinemizers.
So
Yeah.
So with the Emax, if you were to buy the Emax and the Dominator goggles, the V2s, and a battery and a receiver, what else would you need?
You would need a camera and transmitter, which I would suggest a cheap camera is the Fat Shark 600 TVL, and honestly, in this small quad racing, a 250 milliwatt 5.8 would be good. And then also you would need a receiver module for the Dominators. That's another $50.
Yeah, so you're probably looking
Typically,
at
how big are these courses that are set up for FPV racing?
It really depends on the area you're flying. The one that we had set up at our fly-in, I think, was maybe 600 yards long, and then you come back. We had balloons with streamers on them, so the course kind of changed when the wind blew, but it made for some interesting flying and people popping balloons.
Now, do you guys use ground stations and stuff when you do that, or is the receiver and transmitter via the goggles and the one on the actual aircraft, is that enough, or do you have to have a whole ground station set up for that?
Oh no, you can do either one you want. You can have as many receivers or goggles or TV screens as you want receiving the signal in any fashion you want, really. The Dominators, like the Fat Shark stuff, all primarily runs on 5.8. They're talking about coming out with a 2.4 module and a 1.3 module, but those have been yet to be released. But if you're doing like 1.3 900 or 2.3 or 2.4 video, you could use a receiver and then plug those into your goggles through the supplied AV cable that comes with it. But it's really up to you and what you feel more comfortable with or what gear you have.
But I'm a Spectrum guy, so I wouldn't want to stay away from anything 2.4, right?
Yes, absolutely. So you could go with 5.8 is extremely popular. You could try 1.3, but 1.3 on a mini quad next to a 2.4 receiver could wash it out and you could lose your signal. 900 is another good option, but again, it does have the possibility of washing out your 2.4 link.
Isn't there also issues with what various countries have available spectrum-wise, what they're allowed to
Yes,
use?
there's different bands that you can use. Like here in the U.S., you can use 1280 and 1258. Those are the 1.2 and 1.3 bands. And the 900 band here in the U.S., you can use 110. I don't remember what off the top of my head what the 2.3 and 2.4 channels are. And the 5.8 channels, there's about 6 or 7 of them that you can legally use in the U.S. That's something that we're not allowed to do. We have customers a lot of times trying to order international transmitters, but we are legally not allowed to sell international transmitters and have them shipped to a U.S. address. You have to remember, if you're operating on 910 and you're not on you're operating on a 900 channel that's not 910, you could be interfering with EMS and police.
What's a good lightweight OSD that won't break the bank?
What was that?
A good lightweight OSD?
OSD, you said?
Right.
If you're looking for just an OSD, you talking for like a mini quad or a plane?
Right. Yeah, mini.
We do have a simple OSD. It weighs next to nothing, but it does require extensive soldering. If you're looking for something more of a plug-and-play option, the Easy OSD is a plug-and-play option, but it's pretty much a brick. If I was going to go with that, I would probably change out my flight controller to a Eagle Tree Vector, which has a built-in OSD, return to home, non-autonomous waypoints, but it does have waypoints.
Well, Casper, he likes to solder. So which one is the lightweight?
The simple OSD, then. It
Okay.
does not get much more lightweight than that. It gives you your simple information, your battery voltage, milliamp usage, and current draw. You can even go as far as adding the GPS unit to give you, how far you are away from home and a small arrow to point you that direction.
That's what's the price range on that?
I think the price range on that is like around $80.
And then it's modularized, right? You can add features to it.
Yeah, you have the main unit, and then you add a current sensor, and then you can add a GPS if you want to use the GPS.
And what does Eagle Tree run?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The Eagle Tree, what does it run?
The Eagle Tree one's $237, but it's pretty expensive, but it is a wonderful unit. It's a color OSD. They have it set up like an F-16 fighter. I suggest, if you want to go take a look at, go to YouTube and look it up, but it is amazing. It does return to home flawlessly. It's not really good for like aerial photography. The GPS hold isn't as solid as the NASA, but it flies wonderful.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what's the difference between that and the NASA and their OSD?
Well, if you have a NASA, like a NASA V2 or the NASA V1, the controller. This is a controller and an OSD built into one unit. So for $237, you get a multi-rotor controller and an OSD with a current sensor and GPS. And you can also take that unit out and say you have a plane and you want to do FPV with a plane. You could take that out and put it in a plane and use it in a plane. It's like an all-in-one unit, and it also provides filtered power for your camera and your transmitter.
And what is it? What's the name on that one again?
Eagle Tree Vector.
Eagle Tree Vector. Okay.
Is that quite a bit heavier and bigger than the than say like the NASA or the NAS?
No, actually. The NAS, yes, it is, because the NAS is nothing more than a circuit board. But you have to remember that doesn't provide an OSD or anything like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, that's an open source board too, though, right?
What, the Eagle Tree Vector?
Yeah.
No, it is not. That is a closed source. The company is Eagle Tree, and they're actually based out of Washington. They are constantly doing updates for this thing. If you have a feature that you want to request, if there's enough requests, they will add it. It seems like every 2 weeks they come out with an update just improving the firmware on this.
So it's like the NASA then. It's a standalone, no programming. All you got to do is plug and go.
There is some programming. You have to program your radio to the unit and then do some tuning. But other than that, it's ready to go. One of their main goals in producing this is they wanted to make it as simple as possible. I was lucky enough to be on the beta testing team for that unit for about 5 months before it came out, and any features that I wanted, they added on there. Like they have a feature in there where you can adjust the gains with a knob on your radio, which makes tuning in a multi-rotor super easy.
Yeah, I'm new to the whole multi-rotor thing, but the more I learn about it, the more I'm interested.
It's addicting. Before you know it, you'll have a whole basement full of them.
We're already doing that with helis.
Yeah, what about sort of in general? You hear a bit about sort of flyaways and stuff like that going on. Is that a specific issue with certain controllers, or is it sort of GPS loss and that sort of thing, or?
I have seen flyaways with just about every system, or I've heard of them. I have not experienced one personally, but I believe a lot of flyaways happen to people that don't follow what you're supposed to do before you take off. For example, Phantom users, that's Phantom is something you could go to the store and buy off the shelf. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. They don't understand that it needs to get a good satellite lock before you take off. I actually had a friend of mine that bought a Phantom, and he showed me a video. He pulled it out of his house, plugged it in, and took off. And in the middle of air, he got a satellite lock, and it just started taking off on him. Luckily, it hit a tree in his yard and hit the ground, but I think it's just the ease of having something that you can go buy that you don't fully understand how to operate it causes a lot of these issues.
Exactly. I would go more with the user error than than anything else.
Yes, absolutely. I've seen experienced pilots have user error, such as one of my friends who's big into FPV. He had a mini quad, and he had the video on a 1.3 link, and he had a 2.4 receiver. He got a little bit out of range, lost the radio link, and the thing took off because he had his failsafe set backwards. It just went full throttle when it hit failsafe, and away she went.
And ouch. And with the on the NASA, I know a couple of people locally who use NASA. Now, you know the return to home thing. How does it? When does it pick up the whatever home is? Is that when you do the calibration, the spinny roundy compass thing?
No. Sorry. Go ahead.
When does it get home? What does it classify as home?
With the NASA, when you plug it in outside, it's going to have flashing lights on the PSU, on the power supply unit. When those start flashing green, that's when it gets a satellite lock. When it gets that satellite lock, that's where it records the home position.
Right. Okay.
And whenever you try to, whenever you plug your battery, try to do it away or kind of a couple of feet from where you wherever you want to fly, plug there the battery, so it's gonna register your home location, and when you arm, it's gonna store that as your home. So try to do that. A lot of people use kind of plug the battery and then run to the place they're gonna lift their quads, and that's a lot of problem. That causes a lot of problems with a home lock. So until you have the all green lights from the NASA, for example, you arm and you fly. But a lot of people don't wait till you have full lock, satellite lock, and that causes a lot of problems.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you for clearing that up.
Hey, real quick, I just want to catch up. We had Vincent just join us. Looks like you finally made it on. How you doing, Vincent? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Vincent. Fly RC helicopters, planes, make my own foamies, stuff like that. And I was just seeing you guys on YouTube, and I just figured give it a shot, see what you guys are all about. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, thanks for popping in. We're just talking about right now. It sounds like multirotors and quad racing and things like that. We have one of our Hangout participants is Joe Estes from Ready Made RC, so he's quite knowledgeable on the topic. So we're hitting him with a million questions. So if you got anything, now's the time.
I'll just hang out and just watch for a little bit if you don't mind.
Cool. Yeah, we got. We'll probably be running for about another 20, 25 minutes. So hang out.
I will. Thank you.
All right. What else we got?
There's a lot of discussion on the forums about some quality control issues for the NAS 32 boards. Is that been cleared up, or is it still continuing?
I've heard issues of the NAS 32. We've actually spoken out on this issue. In the batch that I purchased over 2,000 boards. I had a total of 13 boards come back that were defective. So the odds and numbers there, 2,000 of them, and we got 13 back. It's very low. But I will be honest with you, some of the boards that we did get back, the soldering jobs looked horrible on them. There's been cases where I've repaired the board and sent it back out to the customer because they've had just globs of solder touching contacts where it's not supposed to be touched. Because if you don't know, the NAS 32 comes as just a circuit board with some pins on it, and you have to solder those up yourself.
So I guess there's sort of an insinuation there that whoever actually soldered the pins on probably did the horrible job, right? Not
Yes.
the manufacturer?
Yes, absolutely. We do offer a pre-soldered version for people that aren't comfortable with soldering. It's only I think $3 more than the unsoldered version. I actually personally do all that soldering myself, but yep, look, there you go. There's an NAS board.
Unsoldered. You better do it right.
Yeah, unsoldered.
I guess I'll have to wait for Chris.
Yeah, I got here all the cables that need to go through, but I was waiting, and now with BMS Web Video, I'm gonna do it like he did.
Nice. Yeah, I've actually come to the point where the only pins that on the ones that I personally build, the only ones that I solder on are for the motor wires, and then the rest of it I solder wires directly to it. It just makes for a cleaner build, and it actually weighs less.
Do you remove the power from all ESCs, or you get one ESC?
I unplug the power from all the ESCs except for one. You only need one UBEC to run to power them all. As long as you have a common ground in your signal, that's all you need.
Interesting. So now I'm getting ready to start doing some soldering on a NAS 32, probably tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So tell me, you just mentioned your strategy is to not install all the pins, all the headers. Tell me about that again. I want to catch that.
Yeah, that's just me personally. What you can do, so you're running a quad with the pins. Well, you have right angle pins, if I remember correctly. Just put enough pins on there for those 4. Solder those ones in. You're going to do PPM in, right?
Right. Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Okay, so take an old servo wire you have laying around from a bad servo or something. Cut it off. Tin the wires and solder that directly to the input on the NAS. It'll save a lot of weight there, and it just looks cleaner.
Okay, so basically, so we're just bypassing the pins and just direct soldering to the board then.
Yeah, correct. Except for the ones that the motors go into, I would leave those.
And why would you leave those? Why not just direct those?
Just in case you need to replace an ESC down the road or something like that, it's pretty easy to do. Just unplug it, or if you solder it all up and then you realize you have the wrong servo wire on the wrong plug.
Because that never happens.
No, never.
Nice.
Does it ever happen to you with the ESCs and the NAS, or NASA in this case? Well, any of the guys that probably going to go with the NASA as their first quad, just remember to use, or try to use, ESCs that don't have UBECs built in. Otherwise, you're going to need to remove the red cable from the ESCs. Keep that. The NAS, Joe, with the refresh rates, does it affect a lot if you're using Simon K, or Bell Heli or something like that of the reflash ESCs. If it's 400 hertz, or does it affect a lot of the flight?
I personally can say I don't think it does. You're going to get those guys that are hardcore Simon K and BL Heli freaks and say that it's the only way to go. But I notice no difference. You can generally, though, get a Simon K or BL Heli pre-flashed ESC pretty cheap. I know right now we just got those Emax 12 amp ESCs. They say Simon series on them, but they're actually flashed with BL Heli. And they're like $9 an ESC for 12 amp.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, we got a question that you're the perfect person to answer this. Somebody posted this question on the live YouTube feed. But it says, and this is from damage.cc, so it says, I have a question. Which flight control boards support motor tilt? For example, the TBS Gemini has a 10-degree forward tilt. I know they use CC3D, but how would you set this up yourself with a NAS board, APM, or your own CC3D?
Actually, you can do that with any board that you want to. I believe the TBS Gemini is not a CC3D. It is actually a offshoot of a clone of the CC3D. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but that's pointless. If you have 10-degree motor mounts on your quad, so let's say this is your quad, you have the motor mounts. What you need to do is rotate that quad 10 degrees so that the motors are level, and then re-level the board, whether it be the NAS, the CC3D, the NASA, whatever. That's all you need to do so that the controller thinks that this is level and that it will fly level like that.
Perfect. And all these are great timing because I'm doing, and you and I, Joe, talked about this earlier today, but I'm doing exactly that. I'm putting a 10-degree motor tilt on that quad, and so this is great primer. We should talk before I build anything always, because you guys basically give me all the tips.
I'm
sorry, what was that?
What's the advantage of using a tilt?
The advantage of using tilt is the camera gets faced forward or gets faced straight when you're flying forward, and also there's less wind drag across the top of the frame. If this is your quad that you're building right here, if you are at a 10-degree tilt and you're going forward, you have wind that hits this big plate up here, which is going to cause drag, and it's actually going to push you down. And you're going forward and the quad is staying straight, then you don't have as much wind resistance and your camera stays straight while you're going forward. The only downfall to that is when you come to land, you're looking at the sky.
That's
true.
It's really weird concept to wrap your head around.
So
I sat there for like hours.
Do you mount the camera so that it's, if the multi-rotor's got your tilt, do you mount the camera so that it's level, true level?
You could do that. You can even go as far as adding a servo on there, and a lot of these controllers will control that servo to keep the servo level, so that when you tilt it forward, the servo stays straight and keeps that camera straight.
Well, you put a gyro on it or a gimbal?
Well, if you think about it, all these controllers have gyros built into them. A lot of them have motor outputs or servo outputs for 6 channels, and if you're running a quad, you're only using 4 of those channels. So you could program the other 2 channels for a gimbal, they call it, or a tilt.
Huh. Interesting.
So on the camera, if you put a 10-degree tilt up on your camera, let's say you have flat motor mounts, you would have the exact same result as the 10-degree tilted motors, except for you'd have that additional drag, right? But the view is going to be the same.
Yes, the view is going to be the same, and in theory, it's going to be faster It's there's so much thinking about it. You have to totally retrain your brain on how it is when you fly it. I flew one a couple weeks ago, and I'm flying it around, and I'm like, this just doesn't look right. It looks like it's coming back at me, but it's not. You can see on this mini quad that I built here, I have a small camera up here in the front. Let me move this prop. That's actually tilted. So when I am in flight like this, that's probably 8 degrees or so. That camera is staying straight. Sorry, this one's a little bit of a mess. It's been in a wreck or two.
Clay, just remember, in the beginning you won't need to tilt as much. You're going to get used to it. Once you get used to it, try to find a good solution on how to tilt the camera. But at first, when you get used to the quad, you won't need to tilt anything.
Would you guys recommend a certain quad for a beginner?
It all depends on what you want to do with it. You've never flown any quads before?
Yeah, I've flown just the little these little ones right here. I mean, that's about it.
Oh, hey, those are fun.
Yeah, I mean, I fly helicopters and stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the same concept. I mean, I've never really flown a full-blown, real-size quad before, so I was just wondering what would be a good quad to get involved with.
Yeah, it all depends on what path you want to take. If you want to build one, or if you want one that's built and you just bind your radio up to it and go. If you just want to bind your radio up to it and go, you could go with like a Blade 180QX or a Blade 350QX. Or if you want to build something, you could build a DJI 450 or a DRQ 250. I mean, there's a million different options out there.
If you can fly a helicopter, you will have no trouble flying a quad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
Yeah, it all depends on if you want to build it or not.
No, I love building stuff, so I mean, I would like to build it, but you know, at the same time, I don't want to be dumping no hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in it and then go out there and just crash the living Jesus out of it.
Yeah, you can get that one quad that we talked about earlier, the Emax Nighthawk, with everything you need minus your receiver and your battery for $155.
That's good.
And no matter how hard you crash it, it will still cost you less than a helicopter crash.
Always.
One of the nice things I've seen about the 250 quads is they crash really well. I mean, I've seen people just pile them into the ground and literally walk over, pick it up, and put it right back in the air. I'm sure that doesn't happen all the time, but you know that's never going to happen with a heli.
Let's go 50-50.
I have done that a few times with a helicopter on a 50 size, but that was into long grass and getting on throttle hold really fast.
I was going to say your little micro coaxial doesn't count there, Aid.
Cortez at the field today has a brand new Align 700L Dominator. He's about 10 foot off the deck, and he's up. He's up on a knife edge, and the ESC connector unsolders out of the battery. It goes dead right there on the side. You talk about somebody getting it back to the ground safe. He rolled it over, got it right, and outed right down, all within 10 feet or less. So crashes can be scary. I was totally shocked he got that thing down unscathed. So,
wow.
Crashes are good or bad. It depends on what's going on.
Hey, real quick, we got another comment on this time on the event page from Flying Circus. Who's just commenting, said regarding OSDs for the NAs and CC3D, Minim OSD, super cheap and pretty easy to set up. Anybody have an experience with Minim OSD? I've seen it before, and I did actually looked at that with a cheap way to get an OSD connected to my APM, but it looks like you can set it up with like a NAs or whatever. But anyway, thanks for the comment. Appreciate that.
Can we go back to the soldering connectors to the board or soldering the wires to the board? I don't think that's a very good idea. You know, whenever you solder a wire, the solder will wick up the wire a little bit, and that makes for a place that will tend to fail because of vibrations. I think you're better off by soldering the pins to the board and then just putting the connector on the pins. The crimp connector on the wire is a much better connection than a solder joint can ever be as far as long-term stability.
I'd like to disagree with you there with the proviso that the cable is supported properly. So what you don't want is to have the solder joint into the board and then have the wire sort of dangling around in the breeze, vibrating. Yes, it will. You work hard on it on where the solder's whipped up to, and it will fall off eventually. But
the way these boards are,
if you support it properly, it'll be a much lower resistance and a much better connection in the long term. Those servo connectors are pretty naff. Yeah, they don't like whilst they won't work hard and fall off, they do corrode, and the coating, the gold coating on the connectors wears out, and everything's connected up and stuff. So I personally, and I actually have something here. Where is it? I have an old regulator here which I soldered 3 extension leads into. So the power went straight to the servo, it didn't go via the receiver. And that's all heat shrinked and soldered and heat shrinked, and they survived for 3 years with lots of crashes, and gave the servos a much better voltage, several points of voltage more under load than they did when it was going through the receiver.
Yeah, I have to agree to disagree on this, Aid, because it's a proven fact that a crimp connection with a connector or a lug is always a better connection than a soldered connection. You know, I worked in the nuclear power industry, and there are no soldered connections in a power plant. They're all crimped and lugged and put in with cable connectors and lugs on terminal strips. You know, if you've got a hole in the board that you could run the wire through and then loop it back up and around and down, you know, you stand a better chance. But there's still an area where that wire could vibrate and break, where that solder wicks up the wire.
Yeah, I agree. It does need to be supported properly, but it'll be lower resistance with the solder joint. So you get when you're pulling power across the.
Well, if you can tie it down, it's better than letting the wires flop around. But you know, I personally still think that the best connection would be to use the pins and a servo connector.
Let me just go grab something.
Yeah, some of the soldering skills I've seen displayed on the various forums. Yeah, I would advise some people to stay away from the soldering iron.
I hear you, Dave. A question for Joe. The Emax frame, would it be easy to remove the CC3? I think you said it was.
Yeah, the CC3. On there. Out of the package, it comes as one entire package all together. So you would have to buy it separately, but it is the same mounting holes and everything as an aid, so it would be an easy swap out.
Okay.
Now, how do these boards mount to the mini quads? Are there do you use standoffs? Are there cases?
The CC3D, actually, I have one here. I don't know how well you guys can see inside that bag there. There's some glare, but there are standoffs that come with it. You can go with something like that, or you can go with this is a naze, well, half of a naze case. You can have the bottom piece that goes on here and just some double-sided tape down onto the frame. And this is actually the naze CPO that I soldered those wires directly to.
Oh, okay.
You can see.
Nice.
And are most of these frames are they like pre-drilled and ready to go for mounting the majority of controllers like the CC 3D or the naze?
Yes, absolutely. The naze and the CC3D have the same exact pattern, same holes and everything. I think it's a 30 by 30 PDB or PCB, and they're really easy to mount. Almost all these frames have the same holes for them. It's really easy to do.
Do you recommend screw mounting them or just double stick taping them on?
I like my cases. I don't know why. Maybe because I like to protect the component that's in there in case of a catastrophic crash. So I just put them inside the case and then screw them down inside the case like clamps on them, and then just double side stick the tape down. But you can go and do something like this one here. Let's see here. I have it on standoffs. You can see it right there, and then underneath of that I have a power distribution board. The power distribution board has the same holes, so you can actually layer them up. That's how the old microcopters used to do it.
All right, Aid, you got show and tell time?
Yeah, right. This is an old regulator from back in the day, so it's designed to run off a 2S LiPo and power the receiver and the servos on a helicopter. So originally, that lead there would plug into the receiver on a single lead, and the trouble with that is that when you get 3 servos or 4 servos and the throttle servo pulling full current, you can be looking at close to 10 amps. Now, these standard servo connectors, if you pull much more than a couple of amps out off of them each continuously, they get warm, which means they're dropping voltage across them. So what I did was solder this up in heat shrink. So I've got 3 extension leads. The signal wires go straight through, and then the regulator is soldered into the to the power side. So that spreads the load for the 3 cyclic servos across this junction. Now you can get regulators these days, like the reactor and stuff like that do exactly this, but without the dodgy soldering job. But that's soldered, and that is nicely heat shrinked, and has got to have had 3 years worth of use with crashes on my Night 50, which is a nitro model. Or was a nitro model, and it still works now, and it hasn't been used for 5 years on top of that as well. So that's had a lot of sort of jungling around inside a helicopter and crashing and in boxes since then. So if it's soldered properly and supported properly, then soldering is better, lower resistance, which is what we're looking for. We're looking to pass as much amp voltage through as we can to this stuff, because more voltage equals more power, and for the same amount of power it means less current, which means things don't get as hot. So that's my reason for soldering. No, with relatively low voltages here. Sorry.
So speaking of voltages, here's another random Chevy versus Ford, Spectrum versus Futaba question: 3S or 4S?
Well, I've just started dabbling into the 4S. So, well, since we just got them in, but a lot of the racing guys want to do 4S. The only downside is on the mini quads, there are not a whole lot of motors that can handle 4S. You have to watch out for that. I know the Sunny Skies have had issues, and even some of the Tiger motors have had issues with spinning magnets out of them because they're just spinning at crazy RPMs. And the ESCs, you have to watch and make sure that those can handle them. Some ESCs say that they're only rated for 1 to 3S, but if you disable the UBEC in it, you can run 4S. It all depends on the equipment used. Like I said, I've only made like one flight on 4S, and I really couldn't tell the difference.
Does the battery weight sort of offset some of the value of the additional thrust?
Yeah, I mean, you always have more weight you put on there, the less flight time or less performance you're going to get. There's always diminished returns with something like that. A lot of people, I get the question all the time, oh, if I have a 2,000 milliamp battery and I put a 4,000, I should double my flight time. No, you're putting more weight on there.
When you go up to 4S, don't you reduce the capacity by the same equivalent amount?
You don't. Sorry, what was that?
So, I mean, if you go up to 4S, then you reduce the capacity down.
Yeah, a little bit. When you go to 4S, though, you also have to watch out for tuning. Your tune will totally change. You'll have to retune your aircraft. It won't take as much servo inputs to correct. That's something you have to watch out for. The first flight I did on 4S, I took off and it shook out of the sky. It just started oscillating real bad, just bam!
Upsize with 4S, also remember if you're going to go for 4S, some people are using 6 inches, not 5 inches.
Yeah. The rule of thumb when you're going higher in voltage is to go in a smaller prop. Depending on the KV under the motor too, but you can get away with 6-inch props on a 3-cell on a Mini as long as there's enough clearance for it.
Yeah, I was just looking into the same issue myself, and because I found a video on YouTube, and in fact I posted it up in the RC Hangar Time group on Facebook, and we had a little bit of discussion about that. There was a guy who did a video with using the Sunny Sky, I think 2300 kV motors, and he did a 3S flight, and then he brought it down and did a 4S flight with it. And watching on the video, the difference was stunning. I mean, the thing on 4S was just scary. I don't know that I would even be able to control that thing. And it sounded like a Formula One race car. It was ridiculous, but I also had the same question as, what's that doing to the motor? That just seems like it's going to tear up a motor in no time.
Yeah, the motors are rated for a certain amount of RPM. The KV is actually the number of revolutions per volt, I believe. So if you're upping that, like I said, Sunny Skies, I've heard of them throwing magnets, the Tiger ones. I haven't had a chance to try the Dual Sky Ecos on 4S or the new Emax, but I hear they can handle it. That's going to be one of the things I test here in a couple weeks. But that's the big thing, is you don't really have to worry about your speed controls if they can handle 4S, even the amperage. If you go with a higher voltage battery, your amp draw actually drops.
Right. I had read that Sunny Skies states that they have fixed that problem with it throwing magnets with the latest version of that motor, but then again, how do you know you're buying the latest version? How do you know when you're ordering motors from somebody, how long that motor's been sitting around?
Yeah.
And Sunny Skies doesn't really give you any information to say, okay, there's not a different part number, so you're really playing with fire there.
Normally the best way to do that, and we get that question a lot, because Tiger Motor, we don't carry Sunny Sky, but we carry Tiger Motor, Emax, and Gym Fan. But people will send in support tickets and ask, hey, what version motors do you have? And we'll do our research and find out which ones it is we have and let the customer know. That's another good thing. If any of you guys have any more detailed questions, you can go to our website, Made RC /support, put in a support ticket. We have guys that work all across the United States on the support ticket system, so you normally get answered within about 12 hours.
I also got responses from people that were trying 6S on 250 mini quads.
Oh,
You talk
Wow.
they're crazy.
Now,
you talking about
didn't
Zap in
understand it.
Florida?
I saw that somebody posted a video, and honestly, I thought it was slower, and I think due to the weight. I think when you go to 6S, you're adding so much weight, especially like with quick stops. I noticed with the 6S, it didn't stop that quick. I think it was more maneuverable and flippable with just on 3 or 4S. I thought this was just nuts.
You're adding all that extra weight. Only thing I run 6S in is this beast right here. This is a Y6. It's a 610 size Y6. I get some crazy flight times out of this thing on 6S, but 6S and anything else kind of scares me.
Yeah.
But if you're going from 3 to 6, then you would halve the size of the capacity of the battery. So you'd end up with the same power output, but with lower current. So it shouldn't make that. It shouldn't be. If you are downsizing the battery to match the voltage, then it shouldn't make it heavy. But it depends if they are just doubling up the size of the battery and going 6S. It's going to make it a lot heavier. But if they are halving the size of the battery, then it won't be as much of an issue. But yeah.
Yeah, there's always guys out there pushing the limits. Have you guys seen the guy that did the quad with the EDF motors?
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. I like the way he forgot about the gyroscopic precession. So as soon as he sort of banked it and pulled on the elevator, the thing just yawed out and flew out the sky. It's like, yep, that's gyroscopic precession for you.
Nice.
Just funny. Cool.
All right, guys. Well, as much as I hate to do it because we're having a great conversation, it is after 11 o'clock p.m. my time, so we've been going for over 2 hours, and I try and keep it wrapped up so we're taking good care of your time. So I think I'm going to shut this thing down, and we'll definitely be regrouping soon. I'm not sure if it's going to be exactly in 2 weeks. I'll have to look at the calendar with the holidays and make sure it's going to work, but I will definitely get the next notice out on the calendar pretty soon, and we'll catch up again. So appreciate everyone that was able to join. Those of you who are new, Joe, particularly you, thanks for hanging out and sharing some of your awesome knowledge. Like I said, I think every time we have a hangout, it turns out to be more of a multi-rotor discussion than helis. But that's the times. I mean, that's the trend right now. So, and it's cool stuff, and it's a great, parallel to. It's not even as bad as the plankers and the heli guys. I mean, the multi-rotors is a great parallel to the hobby. I'm getting into it. As a matter of fact, I mentioned I will be building a 250 racing quad with 10-degree tilted motors and an ACE 32, and I'll be doing all that over the next week or two, depending on how much time I have. So look for my video tomorrow that shows you what I'm putting in it and kind of the price breakdown, the basic stuff, but. Outside of that, I'll be building that over the next couple of weeks. So, anyway.
Remember the coupon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Coupon. That's right. Joe, what is it? It's Heli Hangout.
Yep. One word.
For 5% off for
anything in the store in the next week.
5 years a week. Okay. All right. 5% off anything in the store for 1 week. Heli Hangout, one word.
At Ready Made RC.
At ReadyMadeRC.com.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, likewise.
Night, night.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, CPO.
Peace out, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you later.